Legacies, dynasties, underdogs, champions. With Demon 1, Ethan, Giacomo, Calm, and Potter winning the 2023 VCT Championships, concluding the tournament and season, everyone can finally exit Los Angeles, go home, and enjoy their vacation alongside all the other franchise teams. While Demon 1, Ethan, Giacomo, Calm, and Potter will be traveling back last with first class, the rest will be going back first in business, with some happier about it than others. In a half-empty stadium, finally getting filled on the last day by a long muck and some RIOT higher-up invites, EG finally has a second thing to show to their now 11 fans in the Jameson era. But before we continue on with them, let's talk about those who were disappointed, and those who were just happy to be there. For a recap on any of the teams that have left even earlier in the group stage, you can find that information in the group stage tribute video. Now on to the better losers. First, in 7th and 8th we had two teams, who might make you wonder, how did they get here? And to answer that, I'd say RIOT Games is formatting and seeding doing its magic once again, and delivering two of the most uncompetitive groups, and North America giving a preview of what's to come in the future when it comes to letting down the fans and the orgs down further, resulting in two teams who are not quite participants and not quite contenders either. Since, would you ever see either of these teams making a break for the title? Or would they even make it to the top 8 again if the groups were redrawn? Or do they even make the top 8 in everyone's personal rankings of the teams after the tournament? Well, that doesn't matter anyways, since we only had to see these two teams for 2 extra days. First off, Foot, the first Turkish team to ever make the playoffs of an international event, thanks to some RIOT employee who decided the seeding and gave EMEA 5 slots. Foot managed a great showing at Champions, having an astounding record of 4-0 against T1, and a wonderful record of 0-6 once they had to face some real competition, where they started out by having close maps with EG, ignoring the fact that EG had massive leads and the only thing keeping Foot in the game was not of their own volition and was dependent on EG throwing rounds. Oh, but don't worry, Foot looked like they had a chance against PRX too, but only before something found his footing and loaded their bags onto Turkish Airlines. Since there was never a chance for them against Fnatic, where Fnatic proved that 1 Turk is greater than 5, especially when the 1 is alpha year. But I guess I don't blame the whole team for constantly losing these matches when you have a KO Gecko 2-trick as your initiator and an Opper who can't hit op shots. So once again, thank you RIOT for allowing us to watch this mid-team for an extra 2 days, for the sake of wanting regional pride and honor. Next we have BLG, who, similar to Foot, had an amazing record of 4-0 against just one team in NRG, to help them qualify out of their group and get them here, but were instead able to get a solid record of 1-6 against the rest of the competition, thanks to a close map win in the playoffs against their regional rival EDG. But that doesn't absolve them of the fact that they are still in a similar boat as Foot, since if the seeding just accounted for the extra EMEA team by having multiple lower seeds instead of multiple 1 seeds, but we can't take this accomplishment of an upset over NRG away from them, since otherwise they'd be like FPX and have nothing to show for it, other than the fact that they were one of the biggest comebacks in the tournament there on the receiving end, where they had everyone getting ready to make fun of Boostio's comments as they were poised to stop DRX in the first map. But like how Boostio reminded FPX who they were, BLG were reminded in the second half, and swiftly packed their bags after almost capturing the choke that was going on at EDG. Just short of making the final week in the forum, coming in 5th and 6th, both these teams only needed 1 map, or even a few rounds to go their way, to make the difference between where they are now, going home with 85k each, and where they could have been, breaking into the top 4 and guaranteeing a minimum of 135k each. From exciting starts and false hopes, to empty promises and underwhelming performances, both teams shared a similar run throughout Los Angeles, beyond the results. Having some of the closest and most exciting maps in the event, both these teams were looking to reach heights that were unattained before. But in the end, both teams will be sharing the same result and will be getting a long break back before preparing for the next season. However, these two teams had surprisingly contrasting expectations going in, and even more contrasting conclusions on the way out. EDG, a team with some high expectations from fans and analysts, and the most overestimated expectations given their history. For such a young team, only just getting their first 3 international series wins in Tokyo, many were ready to jump the gun and crown EDG not as champions quite yet, but as contenders. With their aggressive, op-heavy, dare I say crutch playstyle, depending on heroics from all of their players to win, especially Nobody's Lurking, Smoke Pushing Initiator, and Kong Kong's 4700 bolster. Speaking of Kong Kong and expectations, the general fans were amped and ready to crown him as one of the best duelists in the world, competing with the international veterans of the craft, which may have some truth in it from the potential itself, but let's not jump the gun again, and wait to see him a bit more consistent against the big dogs, now that everyone's got their eyes on him. Since, at the end of the day, the game matters most when the lights are at their height, and the last 2 series he's played, that happened to be a bit too bright, blocking his vision with a white and bright glaze made by the best Lakma baker you can find in New York, in which Kong Kong himself knew that he was overrated by the time he could clear the gaze from his vision. However, the future is clear and bright, and potentially more for this team than the other, since, after all, they're still inexperienced and young and have direction, and know who's playing in the server. Champions 2024-2026, mid-rounds, Foxy 9, timeouts. What do these things have in common? Termi. Now before I continue about him, I'd like to preface this by saying that DRX was surprising this champs. Surprising in the sense that they didn't end up looking like a completely dead team and just showed up, as usual, the entire usual, where they have a disgusting inability to call mid-rounds or rounds in general on the attack side 80% of the time by just doing the same old default around the map, into grouping as 5 on one site, and do their coveted execs onto sites that they've been doing essentially the beginning of Valorant when they were still Vision Strikers, but with some small adjustments here and there for new agents. They also did the usual, give everyone false expectations, false hopes of, oh, is this the time that DRX will finally make it over the hump of top 4 and actually contend for the championship? No, it'll never be the time. Not until they finally fix the tumor in their system that is either Termi, management, stacks, or whoever creates the ideas for rosters, or should I say, whoever pretends to create ideas for rosters and creates the mindset they have going into any championship scenario. From which I'd like to bring your attention back to Termi. From saying that they were preparing by taking things slow and saving Foxy 9 for champs all year long, to saying that they're still waiting for him to gain experience without ever playing officially during Champions, to now saying that we can expect more Foxy 9 for next year. Will we ever see him play? Or will Foxy 9 just end up like Lakia, where we'll only have seen him play meaningless matches and then play in one series where the team underperforms just to never see him again? Just simply wasting a year of a young player's career? But Termi will most likely just cope and say it's okay, and we're waiting for him to be ready again. Just like he has been with his timeout usage this Champions, where he wants to keep saving them until they are absolutely necessary. So much so that fans have speculated that he's training Stax's on-the-fly problem-solving abilities during matches. But it's unfortunate that Termi didn't save enough timeouts and didn't let Stax evolve his problem-solving enough, because DRX could have really used it against Fnatic. Top 4. The teams of the forum. Every team from this point on will definitely be remembered, unlike those of some championship runs prior. Like, who even remembers that Liquid and Crew made the top 4 of Champions in 2021? Most of the following teams meet expectations, while some surpass them, and others, let's just say they disappoint. Coming in 4th place, we have a group of bottlers failing to get it done in the final step, and now failing to achieve a dynasty. But unlike many others, even if they won champions, I wouldn't have considered this run a dynasty run by Fnatic, since, in reality, this is a disgrace to the term dynasty. Because the idea of a 1-year run of only 6.5 months of competition with a total of 4 events becoming a dynasty has only ever been brought up in Riot titles, due to the fact that Riot Games do not design competitive circuits or formats. In traditional sports, dynasties require at minimum 3 years of dominance. In other titles, dynasties require at minimum dominance over all other competition for a near full calendar year, or winning consecutive world championship titles, major championships, invitationals, or whatever the biggest yearly or seasonal competition is called. Now this is not at all Fnatic's fault, except for the part where they lost to Team Liquid in the EMEA playoffs, which should have already taken this year off of being a dynasty, since anything that isn't perfection and only 1 year of competition in a Riot title shouldn't even be considered for being a dynasty. Other than that, the run was also plagued by external factors of facing rookie competition with a terrible format in lock-in, beating another rookie and a team with a stand-in as the other 2 contenders in Tokyo, and then in champs, they had one of the easiest groups, then finally faced real competition for the first time in months in the playoffs, and lost. But none of this actually matters, because they lost anyways. Where if we look at their run this champs, they beat Zeta and BLG in a group with a choking NRG, they beat Foot, who are essentially the BLG of Group B, beat DRX, who are notorious chokers when it comes to getting to top 4 and beyond, and lost to Loud twice, nearly convincingly both times. Where, at the end of the day, Bosta had every single piece of the puzzle to win a championship, and seemingly failed to prepare properly for the last hump. But, like most rosters that have a championship winning and contending year, they should not be asking questions about how far Boaster can bring the team, or be looking to make any changes at all, anytime soon. Next, coming in third, is the team with the most external noise about internal drama, Loud. Firstly, I would like to not take back anything I said about this team, although a great performance was given, for them to finish in the top 3, beating many legitimate teams and competition to get there. It will all sadly be in vain if they don't keep their roster. Since nobody remembers the runner-up, let alone the runner-up to the runner-up, but all in all, I will give some respect to Loud. They were a dead team walking, with low expectations, after flopping in Tokyo, and ended up performing when it mattered, unlike a lot of the prior teams mentioned. With Les single-handedly willing his team to victories, trying his best to prove that he isn't a problem, and Aspas securing the most entries and kills at the tournament just to pad his stats a bit more to secure a sweet payout next season. However, with 4 of their players' contracts running dry by the end of the year, and rumors surrounding Sadak retiring and Aspas leaving for more money, will Aspas make a decision as poor as his taste in anime? Will Sadak put the mouse and keyboard down, or will he continue with his Angel cosplay on Omen? Will Les beat the childish, weak-minded teammate allegations? Will Loud bring out their wallet? Will fans continue to speculate about the meaning behind Aspas' body language towards his teammates? These are all questions that Loud in Brazil need to have answered in order to beat the big bad journalists' allegations. Now, the protagonists of this champions, the first losers for the title and last losers of the tournament, Paper X. Coming into the final, Paper X were not only the favorite, given that they had just beaten EG a few days prior, giving them both of the map bans, but also the fan favorite, with the news of Jing leaving for the military next year taking the hearts of Valorant fans across the world. However, with everyone behind them, including EG's home crowd, the pressure of being the protagonists was surprisingly too high for the veteran members of Paper X to get their happy ending. Whether it was the pressure, the fact that they had no warm-up, or the fact that EG was finally a team who wasn't caught off guard by their pace after getting used to it in the first series, it was certainly a terrible day for Rain for all of the members and fans of Paper X, since a core member of the W Gaming squad, Jing, will now be going to his 2-year mandatory military service sooner rather than later, without being able to lift an international trophy during his time there. Once again, Paper X reached the finish line, and when everyone thought they would finally cross it, evil geniuses sprinted right past them, as Demon 1 secured a spot as the best player in the world over something. Now, while it may not have been a long time with this iteration of Paper X's roster, thanks to some visa issues and a lack of tournaments, it was certainly a fun time. So thank you, Paper X. Thank you. Finally, from laughingstock of franchising to champions of the world, the best of them all. Congratulations to Demon 1, Ethan, Jogamo, Calm, Potter, Zix, Andrew Barton, Screwface, BCJ, Icy, Reformed, Apoth, and Boostio, when he isn't going for a necessary hero place. The success of the squad really does go to show you that the Valorant community is quite clueless when it comes to assessing the ability of coaches and GMs. Calling for Potter's head for not producing instant results when working on a long-term project, complaining about not replacing players like Calm, who was the best player in the clutch of the tournament, and complaining about subbing in their now star player Demon 1, who has now finished the tournament as the best player in the world, because he isn't proven yet. But the one thing that the community still has right is how bad of an organization EG is and their lack of fans. Now, you might be wondering why I've only been praising the players and close staff. Well, that's because evil geniuses, Nicole Lapointe-Jameson and Lindsay Migloire, deserve none of the success that this championship has brought them. Since the decision to bring the team over into the next season alongside Ethan was done by Andrew Barton, and the upper management at EG were the ones pressuring Potter into producing instant results after 4 matches, of which Demon 1 just started fully playing in the 3rd match. But everything's fine, since the players are carrying this organization in and out of game, uploading their comms videos to the personal channels before the EG official channel, having their personalities on display in interviews, and not just being boring PR-friendly robots, which, for some reason, people hate. Like, did we really just go through an event with everyone complaining that Demon 1 said he's better than everyone else and BM'd in game? Competition needs competitors and personality, where trash talk and villains just make it better. When it isn't forced. Boostio. So in the end, similar to what Demon 1 said, fuck the haters. But also, fuck the fans, fuck EG, and once again, congratulations to the VCT 2023 champions, Boostio Calm, Demon 1 Ethan, Jogamo Potter, and all of the other useful staff members. Thanks for watching to the end of the video. My friend and I just started making these simple videos for champs, but there's way more in store from us. So if you have any suggestions on teams to talk about, or even any other esports you want commentated on, shoot a message in the comments. We'll check them out. Thanks again for making it this far into the video.